This may be the most fatal blow to DEI yet. The world's largest retailer, Walmart, becoming the latest company to walk back diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. It will not renew a racial equity center. They will make sure that they don't feature sexual and transgender products aimed at minors, and they won't give priority treatment to suppliers based on race or gender.
What we're trying to do is to ensure that every customer, every associate feels welcome here to shop and to feel like they belong. We're going to continue to make the best decisions we can that makes everyone, our customers, our associates, feel like this is an environment they can shop in and thrive in.
President-elect Donald J. Trump isn't in office yet, but the changes are already starting. Now, there are those that will claim that the world is slowly healing as we prepare for Trump's second term. And this decision from Walmart could be a huge factor for the future because you're looking at the woke agenda crumbling as we speak. So it's fair to say that Trump has done a better job in just 2 weeks compared to President Joe Biden and VP Harris in the last 4 years. And we know that the vice president is incredibly woke, so this isn't good news for her.
So capitalism in its best form is about the beauty of competition to create the greatest product, to create the greatest outcome. But inherent in that is an assumption that everyone starts out on the same base and then they compete and whoever wins wins. The market, right? The market share. But that's a false assumption when you take into account the fact that not everyone starts from the same place, particularly when we take into account race and gender. So what we have to do is recognize the disparities that have long existed and take that into consideration when we want to encourage competition.
And companies are aware of the changes that might happen down the road. It's exactly why they're starting to put in the work and try to clean things up before January next year. This year's election, it speaks for itself. The majority of this country is done with this idea of being woke. It's exactly why Kamala Harris didn't win, because they ran on identity politics. Voters, they wanted something more tangible in the sense that achievements were much more important than diversity. So most of us voted for Trump because we had a great experience with him as a president, as compared to the last 4 years where things became worse as time went on. And this led to these DEI initiatives losing popularity. Here in late 2024, the majority of the country is tired of this game. Watch.
How do people feel about companies taking even a stand on the issue?
Now, this is where it gets very interesting, because here we have a real-time trend. So let's take a look at it, all right? Businesses' DEI public stance. Important to know, back in 2021, so we can go all the way back then, right? Just after the summer of George Floyd, which of course was back in 2020. How important did folks think it was to know the DEI stances of businesses? It was 68%. It was 68%. Look at where we are now in 2024, a real decrease. Just 53% of Americans want to know a business's DEI stance. So what we've seen here is back, right after the summer of George Floyd, there was a lot of interest in DEI, a lot of interest in folks knowing businesses' stances towards DEI. Now, considerably less so in 2024. This is a drop of 15 points. That's a considerable drop. You know, I like looking at poll questions. You oftentimes don't see this type of drop unless there's a real change in public opinion.
That's striking, those numbers. I remember 2021 very well and how important it was to people in the community and, frankly, voters overall. I mean, it's become this issue of DEI and concept a political lightning rod, especially among conservatives. Harry, how do Republicans and Democrats view it?
Yeah, what is driving this decline? It's Republicans. Okay, important to want to know a business's DEI stance. You go back to 2021. Look, there was a partisan divide between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats coming in at 86%, Republicans coming in at 50%. Democrats have basically stayed pretty steady on this issue, right? In 2024, it's 79%, a slight drop, but not so far off from that 86%. Look at Republicans. Look at this drop off in this number. 50% back in 2021 said it was important to know a business's stance on DEI. Now it's just 22%. That is a drop of more than half from 2021 to 2024. And that, of course, is mirroring what we're seeing from politicians, from Republicans, folks like Donald Trump. The bottom line is the Republican base on DEI 3 years ago, kind of lukewarm, now in vast opposition to it. They don't want to hear anything from businesses on DEI, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of businesses differentiating themselves out, saying, you know what, we're taking a step back.
This move away from the woke mindset, it's going to spread. There's no doubt in my mind that this will happen, guys. But I'm guessing that some companies will try to be a little bit more discreet about it. Walmart is the largest retailer by revenue, so there's no point in them trying to keep this quiet. Now, the backlash from this decision, it's coming from the likes of the NAACP. Here's what they had to say about it.
To what extent do you think political pressure from conservative activists will continue to influence other companies? Do you anticipate more will follow suit?
Well, unfortunately, we are in a political climate where otherizing communities is becoming more and more normalized as if it was 1950. We have to encourage corporate America. Do you want to participate in a global economy that's inclusive of all what people bring to the table, or are you going to continue to capitulate to a shrinking segment of your customer base? And unfortunately, majority of Americans, they don't agree with this. And corporations like Walmart need to recognize that their customer base isn't a one race customer base. It is made up of all of America.
Now, I do agree with that last statement. These activists seem to have forgotten the notion that businesses should cater to customers. And in that sense, DEI hires, they don't make sense. You have to focus on your customers, and it's what these CEOs have lost sight of. Now, I do believe that Mr. Wonderful said it best when he asked about it recently on Fox.
Corporate America got lost, and then it took a huge lesson down from Anheuser-Busch on Bud Light. We teach that in business schools now. A complete combination of idiot management and the inability to read the room. And America's clearly decided on this issue. And for the boardroom not to be sensitive and understand what's going on out there, they get punished at the store level. Target's a great example. Wow, when they got in that whole gender identity stuff, they got slaughtered. And they still haven't come back. What mother wants to take their kids there and get into gender identity on underwear?
They never really said sorry.
It doesn't matter. The market did it for them.
Sure.
It crushed them. And I think they should get the whacking stick out. If I were on that board, I'd find out who put that policy in place and a whacking and a hacking. You got to start punishing stupidity at the management level. That is how you solve for this. That's how we used to do it 20, 30 years ago.
So Walmart's...
Does he make sense? This shift is not sitting well with some liberals, guys. The same way that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris seem to be at odds. Some suggest that the president purposefully derailed Kamala Harris's campaign. But just like Kamala Harris, all of it was for nothing since they lost the championship. And Martin's interview of the VP, it was nothing more than him showing her support, which has caused some within the black community to finally speak out about him, which then led to this guy doing an almost hour-long video just to defend why it's okay for him to get paid to support Kamala Harris. Now, the best part is that he says that he should have been paid more.
Now, she went on the Battleground State Tour in October, okay? And so then it goes in here. Now, this Roland Martin, who holds his own streaming program and runs a media company called New Vision Media, received $350,000 in September for a, quote, media buy that he said was for advertising. And then it quotes me. It said it should have been a hell of a lot more. More should have been spent on black-owned media. Okay, since Mr. Martin interviewed Ms. Harris in October. Then it mentions National Action Network. Then it mentions, of course, National Urban League. Now, first and foremost, I don't understand why they put media buy in parentheses, because that's what the $350,000 was for. It was for advertising. Then, of course, you have these people out here. I love the people who run their mouths on social media out here, like, you got Tariq Nasheed tweeting, like, SMH, and then you got Jamal Green talking about, see, he was paid to attack us because we disagree with our positions. No, that means none of you, including you, Jamal, or Tariq, or any of y'all, even understand that media advertising is actually real. And so then I had one dude say, y'all didn't run any ads? Really? We ran this one.
Bob and I both voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him twice. I won't vote for him again. January 6th was a wake-up call for me.
Donald Trump divides people. We've already seen what he has to bring.
He didn't do anything to help us.
We ran this one.
Kamala Harris has never backed down from a challenge. She put cartel members and drug traffickers behind bars, and she will secure our border.
So if we got $350,000 for advertising from the Harris for President campaign, where did the other 10 billion go? The other 10.6 billion or whatever. I'm sorry, where did that go? Where did it go? Oh, I'm sorry. I know where that money went to. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today, local TV stations, and local media in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Arizona, in Nevada. Reason I know, I went to 5 of those battleground, North Carolina. I went to those 5 of those battleground states. I'm sitting in the hotel room and I'm going through television. Ad. All of those ads actually ran.
You can see what he's trying to do here, right? He's desperately trying to justify his company getting paid by the Harris campaign. He even goes so far as to compare it to how networks like ABC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN, and all these other news networks, how they got money for running ads. The problem is that he's misleading people with this narrative. He wasn't just running ads for Kamala Harris's campaign. He was campaigning for her. He did an interview with the optics that it was completely objective, which is false because he got paid a lot of money to do it. You know the saying, you don't bite a hand that feeds, right? How are we supposed to believe him if he can openly lie to the people about a campaign ad that's disguised as an interview? But that's exactly what it was, guys. He was asking softball questions. Meanwhile, he was trying to maintain this facade that he was just a journalist of some sort. And this was further proven when he went off on other black journalists who actually covered this campaign with facts. Martin was quick to defend Kamala Harris whenever he could. And for $350,000, I'm willing to bet that he would do even more. Because nobody wanted Kamala Harris in this race. That was pretty obvious from the beginning. So we could forget about his media company running ads. That was never the issue. It's not an issue with any of the legacy media either because it's revenue for them. The problem is that he tried to make it seem like, he was just doing his job as a journalist even after he got paid. The optics just don't make any sense because it's his company. He's making a lot of money to make Kamala Harris look good. And just to drive the point home that these endorsements were bought, check this out. Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization was given $500,000. Kamala Harris had a friendly interview with him in late October. Oprah Winfrey, who we all thought got $1 million, was actually paid closer to $2.5 million.
Roly Poly is crashing out on social media because I called him out for getting paid by Kamala Harris. And what he's trying to use as his defense is he's trying to say that he was an advertiser for Kamala Harris. But let me tell y'all how this works. Advertisers advertise for everyone. That means they give equal time. That means they interview all candidates. That means that they allow candidates to run their ads, all candidates to run their ads on their station. That's not what Roland Martin did. Roland Martin took money to be a paid hit artist for Kamala Harris. He took money to promote Kamala Harris every day. You know why? Because in his interview with Kamala Harris, he was supposed to say, just to disclose to you guys, I got paid, but he did not because he was paid to work for her and not us.
I remember when Tariq Nasheed called people like Roland Martin and Luther Campbell and others Democrat shills. And shills are like flunkies. They're paid hirelings. In this particular case, they're hirelings for the Democratic Party. So we all know the campaign, for the most part, campaign spending has to be made public. And so they have these FEC filings. And on this FEC filing right here, we see that Kamala Harris's campaign paid Roland Martin's company, New Vision Media, Inc., $350,000. So in this Fox News article, they talk about the payment that Roland Martin's company, New Visions, received from the Kamala Harris campaign. It says, New Vision Media is a media company ran by journalist Roland Martin. Martin spent roughly 30 minutes interviewing Harris on his streaming program in October. The former CNN contributor told The Times the payment was for advertising.
Did the vice president get at least one supporter who wasn't paid? And I'm not talking about voters. I'm talking about these people who have platforms. Because I'm pretty sure that Joe Rogan didn't get paid to have the president-elect on his podcast. And now we're hearing all of these other hosts now coming clean as it's coming out that they were paid handsomely to put their bets on Kamala Harris. Now, what's odd is that these people weren't exactly the biggest Harris supporters when she was just the VP. But as soon as the coup of President Joe Biden happened and she got picked, well, things turned around. They suddenly couldn't contain all their excitement and their support. Kind of like how the Warriors got so many bandwagon fans back in 2016 when they went 73-9 in the season. Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. This shift is not sitting well with some liberals, guys. The same way that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris seem to be at odds. Some suggest that the president purposefully derailed Kamala Harris's campaign. It's now produced a little bit of friction between the two. Something that I did cover in a previous video that I hope that you guys check out right after this one. As always, I want to thank y'all so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. Check out this video here or our playlist section down below, and we'll see you guys on the next one.